hoping everybody's enjoying the presentation so far. And next 15-20 minutes, hopefully I'll try to bring a lot of energy and enthusiasm, because I would want to put my stake that if you really want to become the MD of the European operations and the CIOs want to become the MD of the Indian operations, I think we are best placed to help you do that. So any one of you doesn't want to become, please raise your hands. Otherwise, I'm assuming this whole audience is all ambitious and ready to go for that, right? All right. So let's get started. I'm assuming most of you have met my team members here. I unfortunately had something come up at the last minute. I came at 2 a.m. yesterday. So, having a chance to interact with most of you for the first time today. And what I've done is I've said no more of these standard presentations, because especially in post-lunch sessions, standard PPTs tend to have a very predictable impact on the audience. So I spent a couple of hours trying to put something in a very customized way, which hopefully all of you will sort of understand and appreciate, because it reflects the story that we see, which is playing out in most of our customers. So let's get started. And at any point, any one of you feels you're dozing off, feel free to pick that yellow ball and hit me, because I take the blame for not keeping it interesting, right? So let's get started. Okay, can I have that? Okay, so we want to transform this company, right? And I think it is no debate that beyond transactions, every company is saying that analytics and big data and the kind of things that will help me get new insight from my customers, how can I serve them better, new markets, how can I outclass my competition, etc., are the things that will really help me make that leapfrog in the market ahead of my competition. So if you have to do that, is that something that's really doable today? I mean, can I reach this nirvana of saying that I can combine the traditional system of records, the CRMs and the billings and the ERPs and core banking and whatnot you have, with this next generation of unstructured data, which is social and Twitter feeds and a lot of my emails and customer feedback. And now, as if that was not enough, there is now this boom around Internet of Things, right? So I am now in a position to know every second what my machine is doing, every second where my customer is physically present and where my truck is located, and so on and so forth. Does this give me an opportunity to innovate? Does this give me an opportunity to leapfrog, right? Theoretically, yes. Where are you today? Why are you not able to do that? Let's build that. Let's take a step, one at a time. Life started a few decades ago when finally the, era of RDBMS dawned, and you started having a lot of applications which you could now automate business processes. World started with custom applications, then came the ERPs of the world. Today it's almost a standard thing. So you have multiple core, CRM, and so on and so forth. All of these powered by your traditional OLTP databases. If I were to just take a pause and ask the audience a simple question, I will throw off a few technology names. You have to tell me what is the odd man out, right? CPU, disk, RAM, router, lease line, sensors. Quickly, anyone? Who's the odd man out here? Sorry? Yeah, disk. Who's that? Why so? So, the only mechanical item, right? The only mechanical item in this whole IT infrastructure. And electronic speeds by Moore's law have shrunk. They have become very, very faster. The disk is struggling to keep up, right? And it's no fault of it. It's just because of sheer mechanics, right? So even a traditional OLTP system, which is supposed to do transaction, struggles, because a transaction is not just a single row, write and insert. End-to-end transaction comprises of a lot of read, joins, lookups, and so on and so forth. So what you end up is a system which is heavily under pressure, especially during month ends. Historically, to sort of keep up with this, people have been putting indexes. When you put an index, you solve one problem of speed of read access, you create another problem of updates, deletes, and inserts, and so on and so forth. Now, transactions are still under control. Now your business state, I want insight. How many orders have shipped today? What is my days outstanding today? So people want to start firing queries on that particular thing. Any one of you very, very happy about users firing operational reports on your transactional system? Is that a good thing? Right? We know the problem, what it creates. It's always a balance. So Typically, and it depends from industry to industry, but customers end up creating an operational data store, which is nothing but sort of a near real-time copy of the main system so that you offload all those analytical operational reporting onto a separate data environment. On top of this now, you have your standard reports and dashboards, but business will always have a new question to ask. So they will put a team of analysts who will start firing queries, who will say, I will pull out this data, and they will massage it in Excel, and then before you know, there are 1,500 copies of Excel reports floating all across the company. This is still in terms of a single subject area. Now you want an enterprise one view. You want a view of the business. You want a 360-degree view of the customer, and you want to do a lot more complex analytics. Great. Many companies invest in an enterprise data warehouse, right? Again, the same scenario. Some of the standard reports and some of the standard dashboards are answered, but then again requirements proliferate. Lot more ad hoc questions, lot more ad hoc queries, and so on and so forth. And within this data warehouse, again, if you're seeing, your actual data probably is 40% is what we have typically seen. On top of that, again, you create indexes, you create aggregates, you create materialized views, physical cubes, so on and so forth. The bloat of the data warehouse typically is 4 times of the actual raw data that you have taken from your core systems. Fantastic. I am now having access to reports. What happened? I know why it happened because I have given ad hoc access to the users, and with various tools, they are now able to query on their own. And you must have heard during this session a lot of self-service query tools which can sort of help you do that, and we will come to that discussion very quickly. Now business says this is fine. I want to predict the future. I want to know what is the forecast of my sales. I want to know which customers are going to leave. I want to know who is going to take my campaign. I want to know whom to make this cross-sell, upsell offer to, right? Enter the world of predictive and analytical modeling. Any one of you running analytical environment in your company, right? Is this a fair representation that you have to again create a separate environment? Pull all the relevant data where your data scientist will sit, massage, clean it, prepare it, remove the outliers, model it, and then the big thing about actually going and scoring it back to a database, right? If they're spending 6 weeks to 2 months, 80-90% of the time is actually the data movement part of it, right? Fantastic. What will I do with this insight? Actually, finally, it has to translate into action. You want to convert it into a campaign, you want to convert it into a fraud management application, you want to convert it into a warranty analytics application, right? So you end up putting in place a lot of these analytical apps which will take all these inputs and convert it into action for the company. Again, some of you would be running, simple example, campaign management, right? Is this a fair representation? What are the problems that you see here? First and foremost is the sheer redundancy that this challenge is creating. The one copy of the data which we started from the left-hand side has actually got multiplied so many times as the data and as artifacts like indexes, aggregates, views, and so on and so forth. So point number one, there's huge redundancy of infrastructure cost. Point number two, you see those nice gears out there, those ETLs. Each one of that is a physical data movement which requires people, processes, infrastructure, monitoring every day, right? So that is a huge complexity and a management challenge. And by the way, how much time do you think is going from an event happening there to an actual action taking place? Any guesses? How much are you seeing in your organization? Anyone? At best 2 days, sometimes weeks, sometimes close to a month. Anyone dispute that? All right. This is the world we live in with small data, right? Now comes big data. Now suddenly you want to take Internet of Things. Now you want to take social data. Now you want to take geolocation data. Kya karoge? All right, there is this great technology called Hadoop, which allows me to handle it, cost effectively, and I can get a lot of insights onto it. Let's for a moment assume you are able to do that. Once you do that, what will you do with it? How are you going to combine that unstructured data with the business data in your traditional system? That so-and-so person who tweeted actually correlates to so-and-so customer, or this machine sensor input that I'm getting correlates to this machine located in so-and-so customer in so-and-so premise office, right? So you have to combine this. And insight is one thing, as I said, finally it has to translate into action. How do you combine it into action, right? So this is a question mark. Some of them have been able to solve, but the vast majority of the customers are still struggling to figure out. Just wanted to take a pause here. Is there a different point of view that anybody has here? And if you people are at this stage, at different stage in this particular thing, and translate this to SureTech, right? I'm sure SureTech's information IT landscape is more or less similar to this, and you are now faced with the challenge of transforming both from a business and from an IT point of view. Those of you agree would appreciate if I could see a show of hands. Is this a situation that you agree with? That's it, 3, 4, that's it? Fantastic, okay. Now, I will spend 5 minutes on how we can help you in this, right? SAP HANA, I am assuming, hoping most of you would know, this session is not just about HANA. This session is about taking a different approach, looking at how in-memory technology can change the world for you. But HANA is about in-memory platform, which means it's more than a database, and it's pure in-memory. It's not about bolting on additional infrastructure which is column-based, which creates a copy and just puts the data in memory. That's not the approach. That is like putting another silo just to accelerate that particular environment, right? And more importantly, it's not about trying to do everything and replacing everything that you have. All we are saying is that memory price performance is at a particular point. It's continuously falling in price, but at that point where it is, there is an opportunity for a good number of workloads to be addressed by in-memory computing, complemented by traditional disk-based technologies, which is what we have in the Sybase acquisition, which is the IQ, and the Sybase ASE, which is the OLTP database. Now let's start. How do you want to make this transformation, right? So first and foremost, we allow you to seamlessly connect to Hadoop. Now, you don't need to really worry about somebody firing map-reduce jobs in Hadoop, then figuring and getting it into a traditional RDBMS, and then exporting it to something where it can be consumed. You now have that seamless means by which you can pre-process and bring into this infrastructure, or HANA or IQ can dynamically fire a map-reduce job into Hadoop and do that computation for you and bring those insights back, right? Makes life simpler, a lot simpler, because your applications and your interface now have to talk to traditional DBMS environments which we have been used to for the past few decades. Analytical application. Now what I'm going to show as an animation, it's not something that all of it you need to do. Every customer's situation is different. For some customer, the biggest bang for the buck may come in terms of a game-changing analytical app. For some customers, the biggest bang for the buck may come in terms of just infrastructure consolidation, right? There are rules engines and business calculation and function libraries in HANA that allow you to run analytical applications in memory in database, right? So you can push a lot of that redundant data which you had created straight into HANA and run applications of that. An example would be a real-time offer management. We will see an example of a customer who does that. Let's look at the analytical environment. There are in-database analytical and predictive models in HANA, which means data no longer needs to go out, leverage the parallel MPP in-memory infrastructure, give your analyst all the data and all the columns he wants to analyze and run predictive models in the database, right? Let's look at the traditional data warehouse. This is a no-brainer, right? By very fact that these are columnar in-memory technologies, these workloads are automatically well-suited. But understand this. You no longer need indexes. You no longer need aggregates. You no longer need physicalized cubes and views. It's not just about saving that disk space, but all that time which was going from modeling the business requirement to the ETL to creating that physical layer and creating that semantic layer. You have the raw data and you have just views defined on top of it which a BI layer can consume. Business says change this cube, add 2 more dimensions. It's a question of changing the view. 2 hours versus 2 weeks to a month-long project, right? Think from that agility also. It's not just about how fast the query comes up. So that goes away. ODS, why not? Because HANA has been created ground up as an OLTP plus OLAP database, so it handles transactional and analytical workloads equally well, right? There goes your ODS environment. And for some of you, and I'm hoping a couple of our customers are here. At least in the SAP ECC scheme of things, HANA is pretty much also a OLTP database which sort of takes care of OLTP workload. So there are customers, including in India, who are running, in some cases, just CRM, in some cases, the entire SAP ECC on HANA. So what you can theoretically achieve, and this is not a transformation I am definitely recommending you should do right away for SureTech or for your organizations, but think of all the infrastructure redundancy, all the process redundancy, and all the delays that you are eliminating if you take this infrastructure logically in a sensible way and plan it in a proper manner. Just a couple of slides to sort of say that now, because of this infrastructure, you are now able to give self-service capability to the business. So whether it is visualization, data discovery, but the key word which I highlighted in this is red is governed. A lot of tools will come which are desktop based. Yes, we can connect to in a database and business users can use it. Start exceeding the few GB limit, you will start hitting bottlenecks. Business users are connecting randomly, you will face problems. You address that with this. Similarly, predictive, self-service. Let your business users do the predictive modeling now, right? Don't limit them in terms of doing that. And variety of applications which can leverage this infrastructure. So I had a few examples, but I'll halt at just two, just to give you the, I'll forward all of this. This is the entire stack. This may be relevant. SureTech has an online presence, right? How do you convert a customer in real time is an example where these guys have like 5,000 events per second, continuously monitoring 9 million players who are playing online and making the right offer at the right time, understanding what they just did and what similar players like them have done in the past, and only then making that offer. You are doing research on various products. I read only 25% get launched and only 10% are successful. Why? Is it that you don't get the customer requirements right, or once you launch, you're not getting the feedback right? An example of how not just structured but unstructured information is combined to give insights which was not possible before, right? And lastly, an example of somebody who combines structured data, machine data, and geolocation data to drive what is a core transformation for the business. So I leave you at this point that applied in the right way, these technologies are what can help you drive this transformation for SureTech, right? Thank you.